This is Dolany TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, and welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel today. And well, you know what? This is going to be a little bit of a follow-up to something I talked about in the Joakim Nygard video earlier today. If you haven't looked at that video, I will put a card link. It'll pop up, Joakim Nygard video, somewhere over here actually, on your screen and tell you to go click it. So definitely, if you haven't checked that out, go check that out and see how I hatched this idea for this video topic. As the Oilers roster, we've talked about it, is a little bit complicated, right? Whether you go with the 15 roster forwards currently listed on Cap Friendly, and then you find two guys to be the 16th, 17th forwards, and then the taxi squad guys as well. It is complicated math at best to figure out how this Oilers roster really actually shakes down. And one guy that is a true kind of situation of that is James Neal. And I know immediately as soon as I say James Neal, everyone's going to say, well, we should have just bought him out. Why would you deal with dead cap space, right? Why would you deal with a dead cap hit for James Neal as opposed to trading him away for something? And that's something I've always been a big proponent of is, you know what, yeah, realistically, we had to get out of that Milan Lucic contract. We did. We got James Neal. We got 19 goals out of James Neal and got to the playoffs, play-ins, whatever you want to call them. Well, technically speaking, that is mission accomplished with James Neal. Now you can offload James Neal for somewhere between a 5th to a 7th round pick and probably totally clear that cap. Problem is, there's not a lot of teams realistically willing to do that, and maybe there's only 3 teams very capable in the Oilers' mind of things of doing that. And realistically, you look at one team on that list, it would be the Florida Panthers, my friends, and then you got the Columbus Blue Jackets and New Jersey Devils. I'll break down each of the 3 team situations in a moment, but I must say right now, if you're new to Dolany TV, I want you to take 5 minutes, consider hitting that subscribe button as well. Also, if you really enjoy topics like these, talking about potential trades, hit that like button. This is original from me. This is not something I read on the internet, so let's get discussing it. The Florida Panthers up first. They've got an extra 7th round pick, the Winnipeg Jets 7th round pick in 2021. And, well, what do they have for right wingers on the squad? They've got Vinny Hinostroza, Noel Acciari, Frank Vetrano, and then you've got Brett Connolly and Patrick Hornquist. So yeah, they have a lot on the right side. Left side, they've got Lomberg. Sorella is an RFA. He's on the main roster, but they only have 10 main roster forwards by the looks of this. And realistically, they got Huberdeau. So they do have an opening for a guy of James Neal's stature. They have a couple of guys in the minors, but nobody that's really going to come in there and fill things. Henrik Borgstrom, obviously. Scott Wilson in there. Mason Marchman. There's a couple of names in the minors there. Owen Tippett, maybe another one. And where's the other one I was thinking? Alexei Heponiemi as well in there for the Panthers. So the only reason I sit here and target the Florida Panthers is they're an Eastern Conference team, and they have $8.3 million in cap space as well as a roster size of 41 out of 50 contracts signed. So therefore, it makes a lot of sense, right? They need that extra contract, or they might want that extra veteran player. They've got a good mix of players, right? Hornquist's a great addition. Brett Connolly's a great addition. But other than that, the Florida Panthers do not have any players over 30 up front outside of Patrick Hornquist. So to add a James Neal to grow the younger guys on the squad, maybe not a bad deal. And of course, James Neal, realistically only a $5.75 million cap hit, so there is some room within the salary cap still for the Florida Panthers if they're willing to spend. However, if you talk about the Florida Panthers and spending money, that doesn't usually add up. So therefore, I do not see this very likely. But should the Oilers pursue it? Absolutely, the Oilers should pursue it. Is it going to happen? Very, very doubtful. Now, another team with a lot of cap space, $9.225 million to be precise, the Columbus Blue Jackets, with a roster contract situation of 40 out of 50 roster contracts signed. They have an extra 5th round pick in 2021, just so happens to be the New Jersey Devils, for, I believe that would be the Ryan Murray trade that was made right before the draft. And what do they have on the right wing? Realistically, they got a whole bunch of guys that can play the wing or center or whatever, or left wing. So their situation is a mess a little bit, but you look at right? Cam Atkinson's up there. You've got Gustav Nyquist. You've got Nick Foligno. You've got a Boone Jenner, a Riley Nash, a Oliver Borkstrand. There's also a Kevin Stunland. So they've got a couple of guys. And then, yeah, they also have guys coming up in Emil Benstrom and Alex Tertier. There's quite a few. Liam Foudy and Trey Fix-Wolansky as well. So, Wolansky, sorry, pardon me. But there's a couple of guys in there that really make Columbus a hard landing destination for James Neal, especially on just a pick and cap dump. But for them to add Mr. James Neal, right? Columbus a little bit more of a veteran team. 33-year-old Nathan Gerbe, 37-year-old Mikko Koivu, who signed that $1.5 million deal with them. You've got 31-year-old Riley Nash, 33-year-old Nick Foligno, 31-year-old Gustav Nyquist, and 31-year-old Cam Atkinson. So in there, you've got a couple of guys that could really do the job for Columbus and not have to worry about things. And then, of course, you have Brennan Dubinsky, who did not play last season. I don't think is playing ever again, as far as I understand it. So Columbus, again, similar to Florida, but more so because of the roster fit. Florida, I think, can always use guys that can score 20 goals. Columbus, they've got a lot of guys this year that should do just fine and dandy for them. So Columbus probably about the same level of no as Florida, but again, a team that if you can pursue something, you can really get something going. And imagine what the Oilers could do with that $5.75 million of cap space freed up next season. I know I've talked a lot about James Neal having a rebound year this year, but the more you look at the roster, it's hard to find where he fits and what he does for us in a limited role outside of the power play this year. Now, for the New Jersey Devils, I already talked about this when it came to our good friend Alex Chiasson, who is the counterpart on the power play to James Neal. Well, the Devils, they have $17.195 million in cap space, 40 out of 50 contracts signed. Jesper Bratt, Mackenzie Blackwood, those are the only really big RFAs they have to sign. Obviously, they'll probably sign 2 or 3 guys in free agency, but even if those 2 guys, Bratt and Mackenzie Blackwood, chew up, say, I don't know, $7 million in cap space in the next couple of contracts, simply put, James Neal still leaves them with $4.25 million in cap space or thereabout if he's traded for a pick. And I mean, New Jersey, yeah, they have an extra 3rd round pick. Are they likely to move that? No, but because they have the extra 3rd, they're probably likely to move a 5th or a 6th or a 7th for this year, or even a later pick. I don't care if it's a pick here or there or next year kind of deal, but you know what? There's 3 good options for Ken Holland to go out there and pursue, and we just saw our first trade in 2 months yesterday. So this is going to get exciting to see. Maybe there will be some James Neal rumors starting to heat up, but in my opinion, there are 3 good teams to look at. Florida, Columbus, and New Jersey. Kind of, I guess, realistically what a lot of people normally would call poverty franchises. But straight up, these guys are teams that can take on the cap space, can use a guy like James Neal. Whether the roster fit's really there or not like it is for the Oilers kind of remains the question, but realistically, right, if you're getting a 20 goal scorer for free, which James Neal, according to what was that math they did there that cost the Oilers the 3rd round pick, yeah, according to that math, well, guess what? James Neal's a 20 goal scorer last year and continues to be a 20 goal scorer most years outside of that Flames year. Well, all of a sudden, yeah, heck yeah, you know what? James Neal, a guy that could definitely add to the lineup for the value of a 7th round pick. Realistically, 7th round pick, how many of those signed? Phil Kemp just signed with the Oilers, but he's playing a full season in, where is it? Wasby IK. He's not coming over to play in the NHL this year, so keep that in mind as well, as the fact that realistically, 7th round pick, shot in the dark, is the best term I've seen used on the internet recently when it comes to it. At the end of the day, it's $5.75 million in cap space and a valuable roster spot freed up if the Oilers can indeed go out there and move the contract of James Neal for a low round pick. Or I guess the other side too, you can debate me on this, is would you take a low end prospect to fill out the minor league club Bakersfield or in the ECHL or whatever, just an extra contract against the books just to balance out contract maneuvering, whatever you want to approach it as. I don't think you're getting value for James Neal is what I'm trying to say, but at the same rate, value in and of itself is the cap space freed up this year and then the cap space freed up for the next several years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tyson. This is Stolen TV. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. I hope you take some time, go back and watch that Nygaard video. I hope you've also taken the past about 9 minutes to consider hitting that subscribe button here on the channel and getting ready for what's going to be an absolutely crazy Edmonton Oilers season, 56 games in all plus playoffs here on the channel. Ladies and gentlemen, I am up on out of here.